Live from Vancouver's New York Sports Report Show. All you suits, you Republicans, sit back, drink your coffee, and smile like a dork that you are. It's the Hawks Canucks Game 1 from the United Center at the Madhouse on Madison Street. Look at all the good girls having a good time down in Chicago, getting ready and fired up. I'm Jason York, your host. Apparently Kim Kardashian says she doesn't like burrito, but apparently she was on a flight and people were complaining about all the gas she was passing.
Live from Vancouver. Unfortunately, I wish I was in Chicago, but that's not the case. Earlier on, we kind of left off, and what I really wanted to dive into was Roberto LUONGO. Now, Roberto LUONGO, again, I'll quickly mention, has been mentioned, has been told by the NHL, let's get rid of the embellishment stuff now, okay? Because I firmly believe that tonight, this Dustin Byfuglien and Roberto LUONGO show will continue. The issue with Roberto LUONGO, as far as I'm concerned, he had the opportunity in the first game after the Olympic break to sort of exercise that demon. And the bottom line is that that first week after the Olympics finished, the Hawks or the Canucks go into Chicago and they got spanked 5-2 or 6-2, pardon me. Roberto LUONGO gets run for 5 goals, gets ran out of the building in the first period. The crowd's giving it to him. He breaks his stick over the bench. And that's not good. That's, I mean, I know there's frustration and all that stuff, and I'm not going to say it's good or bad. I mean, whatever. Roberto's a grown man. He's going to do what he's going to do. I'm not going to judge him on that. But that game alone said something to me where I think Chicago is really in this guy's head. And if it's in his head, he's got to get to a place of solution. It's not about redeeming or revenge. There's got to be a solution. And the solution, as far as I'm concerned, is that it can't all lie on Roberto LUONGO here. The defense for the Vancouver Canucks has to be gritty. They have to be tough. Again, I'll say it. I said it earlier on. They got to use those sticks. They got to break some ankles. They got to slice up some calves and some shins and all that stuff. You're not going to remove guys like Dustin Byfuglien, Versteeg, Andrew Ladd, and Kopechki. All these guys are big dudes. They all stand over 6 feet. You got to deal with Byfuglien. Obviously, that's going to be the big matchup. But then you got to deal with a guy like Andrew Ladd, who's 6'2", 6'3". He's not as heavy as Dustin Byfuglien. But you know Andrew Ladd's going to go in there and cause havoc. So the Canucks, in terms of their defense and how they're going to handle this, they've got to go back to old Boston, Philadelphia hockey style. They've got to take care of business. They can't just sort of let these guys get comfortable in front of Roberto. I think Roberto is going to find his way through that. I think Roberto's a good goalie where he can look through that stuff, and it's sort of like a maze and all that. But when you watch Roberto, he seems like he can get through that. But at the end of the day, is Vancouver's defense strong enough to move all these big bodies? We'll find out. Like I said, we're 3 hours away from puck drop in Chicago from Game 1 with the Canucks and the Hawks. Boston Bruins win a thriller in overtime against the Philadelphia Flyers. What a game! I mean, it was a pretty decent game. I don't know if there's going to be hate and blood and all that stuff by the end of this series, but you know that's what we have coming in Chicago. My biggest fear for this series, though, is it doesn't kind of live up to that, and I think it's going to, and I think everybody in both cities is somewhat expecting this. But sometimes when you go into a series and you have all these fat, gigantic expectations, boom, it doesn't happen, and it blows up in everyone's face. The thing with Chicago, though, what I don't want to see is I don't want them to sort of handle it like Detroit handled them in the Western Conference Final. This is a different team. This isn't the Detroit Red Wings. The Hawks know how to push the Vancouver Canucks buttons, and I hope that that's what they do. I hope that's the course that they stay. With the Detroit Red Wings, it's a different system. It's a whole different ball game over there. It's a whole different style that you're going to play against the Detroit Red Wings. For the Vancouver Canucks, when I look at them, I think about the LA series. And I think about the LA series in one specific way here. LA's got some speed, they have some talent, they've got some skill, but that's not the same team that Chicago has over there. And Vancouver's going to open it up for Chicago, and that's what Chicago wants. Chicago is an up and down sort of east to west team. They like to skate, they like to boogie, they like to create. They like to create on the rush and all that stuff. But Detroit taught them last year in the playoffs that it's about forechecking, it's about finishing your checks, it's about utilizing and capitalizing and puck control and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think Nashville and Vancouver are barns apart. There is no way in the world that they're very similar. I mean, Vancouver this year came in second for most goals scored, so I think Vancouver, when they open it up, you know, in hindsight, you're forcing Chicago to open up, and I don't know if Vancouver wants to open it up too much against the Chicago Blackhawks because they just have way too much skill. And I think that if Vancouver starts to skate and opens it up as they did against LA, I mean, LA lost that series because inexperience and fatigue and goaltending. Bottom line, I think Antti Niemi is a better goaltender than Jonathan Quick. But when Chicago wants to open it up and you want to open it up too, it forces them to open up the speed and the game and the ice even more. So here's my prediction. At the beginning, I think that Vancouver does have a better team than last year. I think the additions of Michael Samuelsson are great. But at the end of the day, I still think Chicago, with their speed, if Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook can show up in this series and sort of redeem themselves from the Nashville series, it is going to come down to Antti Niemi, but I honestly think that if Brian Campbell can get his wheels back and not be too scared to take some hits and deliver the puck and take some long skates with the puck and get it in deep against the Vancouver Canucks, I think the Chicago Blackhawks should win this series, and I'm going to call for 7 games. Anyways, I'm Jason York. Thanks for watching. We will have a show tomorrow. We will have a show between every single game, so buckle up, folks. This is going to be one hell of a series. We will be on tomorrow, we'll be on Tuesday, and anyways, enjoy the games tonight. You know what I always say, if you're going to have a few with the guys and the gals and all that, don't drive, stay on your buddy's couch, take a cab, take a bus. I'm Jason York, thanks for watching. Hey, I got a joke there for everyone in the crowd here today. I know everyone's paid big money and all that stuff, but why did the monkey fall out of the tree? Because he was dead. Hey, come on, let's see you do this, man. It's tough out there, man.
You don't need a shower, just use the spray. It works really, really good.